What's up friends, Adriana here and welcome back to my channel. If you read the title, you know we are talking about how much it costs for me to move to New York City. For reference, if you're new to my channel, I just moved from Massachusetts, where I had been living with my family for the past 11 months, to New York City 2 weeks ago. And today I'm gonna break down how much it cost just to move here, like literally just to get here. I'm gonna try to keep this as organized and as streamlined as possible. So let's start with the application process. I mainly looked on StreetEasy, but I did also post and look in some Facebook groups, and that is actually where I found my broker. I posted on one of the Gypsy Housing Facebook pages and she reached out to me, and it just ended up being that she worked out the best. She had a bunch of apartments for me to look at and they were all no fee, so I wasn't gonna have to pay any brokerage fee to move in. So that was key right from the start, that I knew I wasn't gonna have to pay a brokerage fee. I'll link my broker's information down below. She was really great to work with, especially for myself being someone who's never rented a place on their own. She was really helpful and like walked me through the whole process, and it was just nice to like have someone there to support me. So I ended up applying to a co-op. If you don't know what a co-op is, neither did I. So basically a co-op is considered a corporation. So the owners of each apartment are shareholders in the corporation that is the building. The number of shares that they own differs depending on the apartment, but usually it's the bigger the apartment, the more shares they own in the corporation. So with being a co-op, there are a lot more steps involved. So the application fee was a lot more than the $20 you might normally see in a lot of other people's New York City apartment hunting vlogs. So let's start with, I had to pay $100 just to open the application portal. The whole application process was very in-depth and detailed, and if you would like a more in-depth video as to like the whole process of applying specifically for a co-op, or at least in my experience of a co-op, let me know, because the application process took me about a week because there were so many documents they needed. Like, they just needed a lot of financial documents, they did background checks, and because I had a guarantor, that made it even more difficult and more financial paperwork that they needed to make sure that I would be a responsible renter and would be able to pay my rent. So if you want that, let me know in the comments. Once I finished the whole application process on their portal, to actually submit the application itself was $650. Yes, it's insane, I know. Fortunately for me, the owners of the apartment that I'm renting were very generous and offered to reimburse me for half of that $650. And the way they did it is that they just took $325 off of my first month's rent. The $650 application, and then there were other fees, like there were move-in fees and a few other fees. So the total to submit the application was $945. Just submitting and opening the portal right there, I spent $1,045 right off the bat. So that is not normal. Like for most people applying to apartments, you're paying like $20 and that's it. And then you'll pay like your first security deposit, whatever, once you confirm that you're gonna move into the apartment. So in this situation, it was obviously a lot more, but because I'm living in a co-op, there are just certain amenities that are like a little nicer that I wouldn't get necessarily in a regular apartment building. Moving on to the actual getting ready to move. So once I was approved for the apartment, I had to send the owners first month's rent and a security deposit, which is pretty standard. Some apartments might ask for first, last, and a security deposit. I was fortunate that I only had to pay first and security deposit, and the owners took half of the application fee off of that first month's rent. My rent for this lovely little studio apartment is $1,500 a month. I know it's a lot, but honestly, if it weren't a pandemic, this apartment normally rented for $2,500 a month, so I'm getting a steal. Yes, I know you can get a lot more for that amount in other places in the country, but if you're moving to New York City, you know you're gonna be paying more than anywhere else because it's just the cost of living here. It's a popular city, it's a busy city, the cost of living is high. So $1,500 for this studio apartment is actually like really good. So once I was approved, I had to send them first month's rent minus the $325 that they reimbursed for the application fee, and then a security deposit of $1,500. So in total it was $2,675. So after that, before I even set foot in the apartment, I had already spent $3,000, a little more than $3,000. It's a lot of money to move. Once you get an apartment, you set a move-in date, then there is the actual cost of moving. I was fortunate enough that my family helped me move in, and we have 2 large vehicles, so we were able to pack them to the literal brim and get all of my stuff here. So that is something to keep in mind if you're gonna need to rent a U-Haul or whatever other company you wanna go with. That's probably gonna be about $200 to $250 depending on the company that you rent from. And then if you use movers, that's a totally different cost, and from what I could tell just doing a quick Google search, movers range in price from $40 to about $100 an hour. So like for me, if I had been hiring movers to bring my stuff from Massachusetts to New York, it's a 3.5 hour car ride plus probably an hour to move all of my stuff in. So that would have easily been like, if we're looking at the high range, that easily would have been like $400 just for someone to move my stuff. So that's another thing to keep in consideration when you are budgeting out your move. I was fortunate to be able to save in that aspect of my moving process. So if you are moving yourself, all you have to worry about is the cost of gas for your vehicle to get there and for whoever is going back home. Next, once you've actually moved, there is all of the stuff that you need. This will also vary depending on the situation of what you're moving into. If you're moving into an apartment that already has people, they probably have the staples of like bath mats and shower curtains and cleaning supplies and kitchen supplies and all of those little things that you don't think about, but then when you get there, you're like, oh, I need this to literally like do anything in my apartment. Then there's also furniture. I bought a couch, I got a bed frame, I brought my own mattress, but then I also, when I got here, I got this table, I got these chairs that I'm sitting on. So all of those little things, they just add up. I also came prepared, and because I knew I was gonna have to quarantine for a few days when I got here, I made sure to go grocery shopping before I left Massachusetts, and I stocked up on like staples for food items, and I stocked up on a lot of my bath and kitchen supplies already. So right there, I spent probably about almost $600 just to like stock and have the supplies that I needed to like be able to live and make food and do things in my apartment. Then in the past 2 weeks of living here, there have been some things that I realized I needed that I just didn't get around to getting before I came here. So I did some Amazon ordering, and that also added up. I will link down in the description all of my Amazon affiliate links of the apartment things that I have purchased since I've been here, that I've been using daily. If you watch my weekly vlogs, you will see me opening Amazon packages and showing you all the goodies that I've got. So I'll put those links in the description, so if you're moving or need some house supplies, use my link, help me a little bit, get some new stuff that you need. It's a win-win. So the total number, the amount that I spent to move, to get all the supplies I needed to be able to live comfortably enough. Here we go, the number you've been waiting for. Drum roll, please. My grand total that I spent was $4,894. That is between the application, first month's rent and security deposit, the supplies that I purchased to move, all of my furniture, and my Amazon ordering all together. It might be like a few dollars off, but basically I spent almost $5,000. So everything you've heard from other people saying you want to have at least like 3 months of expenses and rent saved up, I would say is a good idea, because I spent like 3 months of rent just to apply and move into this apartment. So keep that in mind when you're moving or getting ready to move, that it's not just your rent, it's all of the other expenses that go into living or moving into a space. Also, a big part of the reason I moved here was to be closer to my friends. Yes, I could have moved many other places in the country and paid a lot less, but most of my close friends live in and around New York City, and with everything going on in the world, I haven't really been able to like see any of my close friends in person because they lived in another state, and it just didn't make sense to risk my health or anyone else's health. So yes, it's a lot of money, but there's so many opportunities in New York, and just personally, I have a lot of friends and connections in the city, so I am very happy to be here, and I'm excited to share what it's like living here down the road as I've lived here longer and have a better idea of like my weekly expenses. I will definitely make a video on like how much I spend in a week living in New York on a budget, because your girl is not ballin'. So it made sense for me. It might not make sense for everyone. If you want to see what my day-to-day life is like, I am posting weekly vlogs. I will link my last one right here. I post them every Sunday, and then I post more sit-down focus videos like this every Tuesday, and I'll post last week's right here, which was about how I almost got scammed when I was looking for apartments. So if you are apartment hunting, check this out so you do not get scammed, because moving is expensive, so you want to save as much of your money as possible and not let awful people take it away from you. So that's it for today's video. I hope this was helpful if you're planning on moving to New York, or you just were curious about how much it cost for me to move here. Yes, it is a lot, but it's a great city to be in, and hopefully it'll help my channel grow, so I'll start making more money from YouTube, and it'll all be worth it. So that's it. Stay safe and sane, friends, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!